Next week is Mother's Day. We're gonna crush this false worship of women. We're gonna crush this doctrine of worship of women on Mother's Day, and we're gonna crush this doctrine of worship of men on Father's Day. These are two holidays, two festivals, 2 days of hell and destruction that were created by Europeans. Last week I talked about, actually 2 weeks ago, I talked about Easter. Easter is another European fabrication to worship their female gods. The name of the god is Easter, look it up. The name of the goddess is Easter. Made by Europeans, look it up. You got these smartphones, use them. Learn something. Now we're gonna go on here and we're gonna look at reputable sites. Encyclopedia Britannica. Okay, here we go. Encyclopedia Britannica. This is on Mother's Day. Again, it is false worship. Mother's Day, a holiday in honor of mothers that is celebrated in countries throughout the world. In its modern form, the holiday originated in the United States, where it is observed on the second Sunday in May. Many other countries also celebrate the holiday on this date, while some mark the observance at other times of the year. During the Middle Ages, the custom developed of allowing those who had moved away to visit their home parishes and their mothers on Laetare Sunday, the fourth Sunday of Lent. Now we went over Lent. Lent is another European festival to a false female god. That's what Lent is. Easter is a female god. Look it up. Also false. This became the Mothering Sunday in Britain, European nation, Britain, where it continued into modern times. Again, where it continued into modern times. Although it has largely been replaced by Mother's Day. Mother's Day is celebrated on Sunday, May 8th, 2022. Now, this is the woman that started this pagan worship. Another European by the name of Anna Jarvis of Philadelphia, whose mother had organized the women's group to promote friendship and health, originated Mother's Day. On May 12, 1907, she held a memorial service at her late mother's church in Grafton, West Virginia. Within 5 years, virtually every state was observing the day because these Europeans love paganism. They love it. They love doing things that are averse to the Most High God, Yahweh, Bahashem, Hamashiach, Yahushua. Mother's Day is the worship of a female god. Easter is the worship of a female god. Lent is the worship of a female god. Look it up. Now, the female god in the case of Mother's Day is all these mothers here living in the flesh. That's who the god is. They're trying to make these female mothers gods on earth. Again, within 5 years, virtually every state was observing the day, and in 1914, the U.S. President Woodrow Wilson made it a national holiday. Although, see, this is the problem. I said this before, I'll keep saying it. Just because something has been going on all of your life does not mean it's not wicked. Understand that? Just because you have grown up experiencing certain things does not mean the things you experience and that you see happening around you are not wicked. Although Jarvis had promoted the wearing of a white carnation as a tribute to one's mother, the custom developed of wearing a red or pink carnation to represent a living mother, or a white carnation for a mother who is deceased. So not only are they trying to worship the living women, they're trying to worship the dead women. This is worship of the dead. This is not what you so-called blacks, so-called Latinos, Hispanics, and so-called Native Americans are supposed to be doing. We do not worship the dead. We don't worship female gods. We don't worship male gods. We worship the Most High God, Yahweh. He is our King and God, and His only begotten Son, Yahushua HaMashiach, who is our King and Savior, and He is also a God. Not the God, He is a God. He's a created being that the Most High Yahweh created. He was the first creation. Over time, the day was expanded to include others, such as grandmothers and aunts, who played mothering roles. So these were women who didn't even have children. You see how this paganism just spreads, this heathenistic action just spreads? They won't stop. They're not going to stop. They must be taken out of the way. And the Most High Yahweh, Hashem and Moshe Yahushua, is presently judging them right now with these rumors of wars, these pestilences, these earthquakes. That's what the Most High is judging. Those things are for judgment. And he's bringing these Gentile nations down. What had originally been primarily a day of honor became associated with the sending of cards and the giving of gifts. However, and in protest against its commercialization, Jarvis, the one who actually created this pagan ridiculousness, she actually ended up going against it. Let's see why. She spent the last years of her life trying to abolish the holidays she had brought into being. Now that is repentance. That is repentance. That is repenting of your evil. If you know you brought something on the earth that was evil, you need to repent. But it didn't stop. It didn't stop the rest of her people, did it? Festivals honoring mothers and mother goddesses date to ancient times. The Phrygians, those people in the Bible, held a festival for Cybele, the great mother of the gods, as did the Greeks for the goddess Rhea. Likewise, the Romans adopted the practice to their own pantheon. All of these are Europeans. The Greeks, the Romans, these are all Europeans. Some countries have continued to observe ancient festivals. Oh, yeah, all of those European countries. For example, Durga Puja, honoring the goddess Durga, remains an important festival in where? India. The descendants of the Elamites, E-L-A-M, Elam, the Elamites, not the Edomites, who are the so-called white man, the red man today, Edomites, Idumeans. Now that was the Encyclopedia Britannica. That is a reputable source telling you that what they're trying to do with Mother's Day is to make these women on the earth gods, to worship them as gods. And you women are wrong for accepting that type of worship. So next week you should not. No one should participate in Mother's Day in earshot of my voice. You know that the purpose of it is to make your mother, whoever it is you call your mother, a god. That's what it's for. So you are not you should not participate in that. If you are an Israelite, you're not going to do that. If you're unrepentant, you probably will. Because women love to be glorified. There's not one woman walking the earth right now that does not want to be glorified. If you glorify a woman, she will love you to death. But if you try to correct her, then she won't love you as much. But the Lord God says that reproof is love. Okay? Reproof, correction is love. If you're telling somebody to fix their life, that's love. Love is not allowing someone to continue down a path of destruction. That is not love. And that's why the Israelites out here, because the Most High sends forth his prophets to warn before the judgment comes. And we are in that judgment right now. You can see it in the rumors of wars. You can see it in the wars. You can see it in the famine. You can see it in the pestilence. These are the methods of judgment by the Most High God. He also does it with the weather, with storms and tempests. That's why you see tornadoes ripping up certain neighborhoods. You need to take a specific look and where all of this destruction is happening. You need to look at the location and look at the people that are being destroyed. Their homes being destroyed, lives being destroyed, property being destroyed. You need to look and see where these judgments are happening and to whom they are happening. Now, you so-called blacks, so-called Latinos, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you have always been under judgment. You don't know it. You don't want to confess it, but you have always been under judgment. That's why you're the first fired and the last hired. That's why you are treated the way you're treated in this society. That's why our Latino, Hispanic brothers work as hard as they do. It's the judgment of the Lord. Look at Deuteronomy 28. You know, Christianity has our Latino, Hispanic brethren lighting candles at death scenes. That came out of Roman Catholicism. You may think it's a wonderful thing to mark the death of where somebody you love died, but it is paganism. That's what it is. Hey, sir. Hey, sir, what happened? Are you a Latino, Hispanic?
Yep.
From where? Where your father from?
Mexico.
Mexico? All right. Do you know that you're Israel?
Yes.
You know you're an Israelite?
I know what it is. Yes.
Okay. Do you know that you are an Israelite, though?
Oh, yes, I am.
Okay. How'd you come to that knowledge?
History.
History? What? I mean, tell me a little bit about it. How did you discover that?
Oh,
Don't worry. Hey, this is the word of God. This is two men talking the word of God. Whatever it is you're going to, you can give me the short answer.
short answer?
Yeah, give me a short answer.
How
How you came to understand that you're an Israelite?
the books I read.
What books did you read?
Books that actually told me.
What books? What book did you read?
Not Christian books, that's for sure.
Got a little bee here. That's my friend. Friend from nature. All right, here we go. Now we're going to go and we're going to talk about Father's Day. Father's Day. Father's Day. Again, Mother's Day is a European fabrication in 1909 to make living women and dead women gods. That's what Mother's Day is for. So you're not to do that. You're not to do that. You're not supposed to make your mother a god. You're not supposed to make the woman a god. You're not supposed to worship the woman. That's not how it works. Understand that? That's what a simp says. Only a simp worships a woman. Only a simp. Only a simp worships women. You understand that? Real men do not worship women. Real men follow these laws, statutes, and commandments of God. That's what real men do. All right, Father's Day. Encyclopedia Britannica. Father's Day in the United States, holiday, third Sunday in June to honor fathers. Credit for originating the holiday is generally given to Sonora Smart Dodd of Spokane, Washington, whose father, a Civil War veteran, raised her and her 5 siblings after their mother died in childbirth. She is said to have had the idea in 1909. So you had Mother's Day in 1907, and then you had Father's Day in 1909. She is said to have had the idea in 1909 while listening to a sermon on Mother's Day. So she wanted to make her mother a god, and she wanted to make her father a god, which at that time was becoming established as a holiday. 2 years into it, local religious leaders supported the idea. See, this is what Christianity does. They know they're pagan. They try to keep the children of Israel suppressed and in sin. And because it's easy, comfortable, sounds good, our people like sheeple. You so-called blacks, so-called Latinos, Hispanics, and Native Americans are like sheep. You're sheeple. And the Gentiles use that to keep you in sin and separating you from your God. Local religious leaders supported the idea, and the first Father's Day was celebrated on June 19, 1910. month of the birthday of God's father. So now, see, not only that, the guy that was worshipped by his daughter, his particular birthday is the day for Father's Day. So he's actually memorialized as a god on the day that they created to worship all other fathers as gods. You understand that? You understand how wicked that is? In 1924, the U.S. President Calvin Coolidge, another European president of the United States, Calvin Coolidge gave his support to the observance, and in 1966, President Lyndon B. Johnson issued a proclamation that recognized the day. Now, as I always say, just because you put something in law does not make it righteous. Understand that? Just because someone makes a law does not mean that it is a righteous law. There are such things as evil and wicked laws. It became a national holiday in 1972. See, that's because these Europeans are all about this female goddess worship. That's why it took so long to catch on. But they like to worship themselves as well. It became a national holiday in 1972 when President Richard Nixon, the crook, signed legislation designating the third Sunday of June as Father's Day. Father's Day is celebrated on Sunday, June 19, 2022 in most countries. Although it was originally largely a religious holiday, I'll say that again. Although it was originally largely a religious holiday, that means it was in these Christian churches and Catholic churches and probably Muslim mosques. Father's Day has been commercialized with the sending of greeting cards and the giving of gifts, just like Mother's Day, who cares? Some observe the custom of wearing a red rose to indicate one's father is living, or a white rose to indicate that he is deceased. Again, this is the same thing they did with Mother's Day. They tried to make dead women and men gods, and they try to make living men and women gods for one day. That is sin. No, do not worship Mother's Day. Do not celebrate Mother's Day. Do not celebrate Father's Day. You understand that? Do not celebrate Mother's Day. Do not celebrate Father's Day. Understand that. Thus saith the Lord God. We are giving you his words. The Israelites are giving you the Most High's words. These are not our words. The Most High puts a spirit on us to research. We find out the truth about this paganism, and then we tell you about it to correct your sins. That's why we're here. Before this judgment comes. The judgment is ongoing. But there's a final judgment. There's a final judgment coming. And if you don't get it right, you're going to be on the thick end of that judgment. Other males, for example, just like Mother's Day, other males, for example, grandfathers and uncles, who had assumed parenting roles, are often also honored on the day. Here you go. Here it is, chief of it all. Some Roman Catholics have continued to observe the feast day of St. Joseph on March 19th. So they have combined it as a tribute to fathers. I had this printed out, but unfortunately, I left it. So fortunately, I was able to remember what I had. This is history.com on October 28th, 2021, originally published December 30th, 2009 on Father's Day. The nation's first Father's Day was celebrated on June 19, 1910 in the state of Washington. See, more details. More details. However, it was not until 1972, 58 years after President Woodrow Wilson made Mother's Day official, that the day honoring fathers became a national holiday in the United States. Father's Day 2022 will occur on Sunday, June 19th. Mother's Day was the inspiration for Father's Day. The Mother's Day we celebrate today has its origins in the peace and reconciliation campaigns of the post-Civil War era, which was, I believe, 1861 to 1865, at the urging of activist Ed Reeves Jarvis. One divided West Virginia town celebrated Mother's Work Days that brought together the mothers of Confederates and Union soldiers. So those people on both sides of the war. The Europeans, they were on both sides of the war. You see how they do that? That's why today we know that Democrats and Republicans are two wings of the same bird. One wing is Democrat, one wing is Republican, same bird doing the same wickedness. They try to tell you one's different from the other when they're not. They're on one agenda: to bring in you so-called blacks, Latinos, Native Americans into their government, to be a party to their system, and to keep your people down, to keep your people low. Tell me that's not true. Tell me it's not true. Again, Mother's Day and Father's Day is not to be celebrated. Pagan worship. The purpose of it, to try to make someone a god. To try to make your mother a god or your father a god. That is not what we're supposed to do. That is not what we're supposed to do. Look, you can do any nice thing you want for your mother or father any other day of the year. Why this particular day? When you do it on this day, what happens is there's a spirit. There is a spirit. An evil spirit, not a holy spirit. You think you're doing a good thing, but you're doing utter wickedness by celebrating your mother on Mother's Day and your father on Father's Day. You are doing utter wickedness. Thus saith the Lord God. There's nowhere in the Bible does it say to glorify your mother or father as a god. But that's what Mother's Day is for, and that's what Father's Day is for. You can buy your parents any good thing any other day of the year, any day or time, during the day or during the night. It does not have to be this particular day. This is where evil, the spirits of evil, are congregating and funneled together. You don't know what's being done on this day. There is evil energy on these particular days, and everybody who participates in it contributes to that evil spirit. However, Mother's Day did not become a commercial holiday until 1908, when inspired by Jarvis's daughter, Anna Jarvis, who wanted to honor her own mother by making Mother's Day a national holiday. Now, she could have done anything she wanted for her mother. Why did she want the whole nation to do it? This is where Job 9:24 comes in. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked, and they cover the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? And who is it? The chief of the Gentiles is the Europeans. Then you have the Arabs, and then you have the Asians. They are the chief. The chief is the Europeans, though. That's where this stuff is coming from, Europeans. I'm gonna hip you guys to something else too. Do you know that the other countries on the planet do not call themselves what America calls what you know them to be? The English words you use, like Japan does not call itself Japan. China does not call itself China. Those are English words for those countries that Europeans created. Those countries do not call themselves that. The depths, D-E-P-T-H-S, of deception is so great that you need the Most High to put a spirit on his people to come out here and tell you the truth, to wake your behind up, to get you to understand, at least hear the truth, and then maybe consider the truth, and then maybe and hopefully repent. Because if we don't tell you the truth, you're never going to get it. If the Lord doesn't send his men out here, you will never get it. There ain't nobody else doing it. Christ said that the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Pray for more laborers, and that's what we do. We are risking our lives out here, coming out here to tell you the truth, because we know we're hated. We're hated by our own people, and we're hated by the Gentiles. But we're not scared of those Gentiles, and we ain't scared of you. We're here to give you the truth that God told us to give you out of this Bible, and relate the events of the world to this Bible. We're talking about the false worship of men and women for Mother's Day and Father's Day. It is wicked. It is wicked. However, Mother's Day did not become a commercial holiday until 1908, when inspired by Jarvis's daughter, Anna Jarvis, who wanted to honor her own mother by making Mother's Day a national holiday. The John Wanamaker department store in Philadelphia sponsored a service dedicated to mothers in its auditorium. Thanks in large part to this association with retailers who saw great potential for profit in the holiday, Mother's Day caught on right away. In 1909, 45 states observed the day. In 1914, President Woodrow Wilson approved a resolution that made the second Sunday in May a holiday in honor of that tender, gentle army, the mothers of America. Now, I'm telling you something else. That wasn't for you so-called blacks. It wasn't for you so-called Latinos, Hispanics, and it wasn't for you so-called Native Americans. It was for these so-called Europeans. They're the ones who created it, right? They created it. They created Mother's Day and Father's Day. It wasn't for you, it was for them. You were the gifts. Origins of Father's Day. The campaign to celebrate the nation's fathers did not meet with the same enthusiasm. Why? Because the majority of these Europeans worship a female god. You don't know it, but the Israelites know it, and we're telling you their history. Why do you think there's monuments all over Washington, D.C. of these goddesses? Why do you think that is? Because they worship female gods. The Europeans worship female gods. The heads of these states worship female gods. On July 5th, 1908, a West Virginia church, again, Christianity, right back into that they just spew that paganism right on out. They sponsored the nation's first event explicitly in honor of fathers, a Sunday sermon in memory of the 362 men who had died in the previous December's explosions at the Fairmont Coal Company mines in Monaco. But it was a one-time commemoration and not an annual holiday. That one wasn't. But Father's Day went on years later to become a national holiday. We do not celebrate Mother's Day. We do not celebrate Father's Day. The heathen or Gentiles celebrate whatever they want. If you are so-called black, so-called Latino, Hispanic, or Native American, do not celebrate Mother's Day or Father's Day. You have been warned. The next year, a Spokane, Washington woman named Sonora Smart Dodd, one of 6 children raised by a widower, that's a man who has a wife that's died, tried to establish an official equivalent to Mother's Day for male parents. She went to local churches, the YMCA, shopkeepers, and government officials to drum up support for her idea, and she was successful. Washington State celebrated the nation's first statewide Father's Day on June 19, 1910. Slowly the holiday spread. In 1916, President Wilson honored the day by using telegraph signals to unfurl a flag in Spokane when he pressed a button in Washington, D.C. In 1924, President Calvin Coolidge urged state governments to observe Father's Day. So it wasn't originally going to be celebrated, and they built up this enthusiasm for it and approval for it. Today, the day honoring fathers is celebrated in the United States on the 3rd Sunday of June. In other countries, especially in Europe, here we go, Europeans again. Europeans again. In other countries, especially in Europe and Latin America, Latin also means Europeans. When the Europeans invaded South America, that's why they call it Latin America. History lesson. Fathers are honored on St. Joseph's Day, a traditional Catholic holiday that falls on March 19th. Father's Day, controversy and commercialism. Many men, however, continued to disdain the day. They were smart. They were more righteous than their brethren. And they disdained that day. As one historian writes, they scoffed at the holiday's sentimental attempts to domesticate manliness. You hear that? So that's what it was. You see that? Father's Day was a crafty counsel to try to domesticate the man. Wow. They scoffed at the holiday's sentimental attempts to domesticate manliness with flowers and gift giving, or they derided the proliferation of such holidays as a commercial gimmick to sell more products, often paid for by the Father himself. You know, that's interesting, because I had that same issue as the head of house, sole income. I didn't want my family to buy me gifts because I would have to give them money to buy me gifts. It didn't make sense. I'd rather them just listen to what I told them to do rather than to buy me something, right? And that's all in righteousness, by the way. My wife and children I don't tell them to do wicked things. During the 1920s and 1930s, a movement arose to scrap Mother's Day. They were doing good on that. Unfortunately, it didn't succeed. To scrap Mother's Day and Father's Day altogether in favor of a single holiday, Parents' Day. Every year, Mother's Day, pro-Parents Day groups railed in New York's Central Park. Again, Europeans. Europeans again. Europeans again. A public reminder, said Parents' Day activist and radio performer Robert Spear, quote, that both parents should be loved and respected together. So here it is. What it is first they were fighting against it. Then the so-called white man said, hey, I want to be celebrated like the white woman too. So let's just make a Parents' Day and both of us get celebrated. Mother's Day is a pagan holiday. Father's Day is a pagan holiday. It's an attempt to make them gods, whether they be living or dead. Do not celebrate it. That young lady looked very interested, so let's give it that word real quick. Paradoxically, however, the Great Depression derailed this effort to combine and de-commercialize the holidays. Struggling retailers, so it had some effect, and advertisers redoubled their efforts to make Father's Day a second Christmas for men. You hear that? So what they did is they tricked you men by giving you a gift. You know, the scriptures say a gift destroyeth the heart. Okay, a gift being a bribe. A bribe destroyeth the heart, the mind. Okay? Promoting goods such as neckties, hats, socks, pipes, and tobacco, golf clubs, and other sporting goods, and greeting cards. When World War II began, advertisers began to argue that celebrating Father's Day was a way to honor American troops and support the war effort. By the end of the war, Father's Day may not have been a federal holiday, but it was a national institution. So it wasn't sanctioned by the government, but the nation celebrated it. In 1972, in the middle of a hard-fought presidential re-election campaign, Richard Nixon signed a proclamation making Father's Day a federal holiday at last. Today, economists estimate that Americans spend more than $1 billion each year on Father's Day gifts. You see that? So somebody's making some money. And there's one nation on this earth that loves money. They'll do anything for it. So now that is our treatise and admonition against celebrating Mother's Day and against celebrating Father's Day. Mother's Day is coming up next week, Father's Day next month. You are not to celebrate that if you are so-called black, so-called Hispanic or Latino, or so-called Native American. We do not celebrate that. Why? Because we only celebrate the holy days that the Most High has established in the Bible. In the Bible, Leviticus chapter 23, look at it. Those are all of our holy days and high holy days. Leviticus chapter 23. And this just brings me to a point of how our people have been destroyed. Because we're sitting here celebrating all of this pagan things created by the Gentiles, and there is a judgment for that. There's a judgment for that. And we are not going to get away from this judgment. We are not going to get away from this judgment. If you want to know why you're having sickness and injury in your body, that is a judgment of the Lord God. If you want to know why your loved ones are sick or have diseases or illness in the body, it's because it is the judgment of the Lord God. That is the truth. It's not the devil. Now, you also contribute to the negative effects on your body by the foods you eat, not exercising, not getting enough rest, but principally by the food that you eat. Food is the fuel for the body. So if you eat unclean foods, shrimp, crab, lobster, bacon, those things will hurt your body. And then when you start having illnesses, then you'll be wondering why. Then you want to take a pill for that. When what you could have did is not eat all that unclean food. Here's what the Most High said before we get into how we've been destroyed. Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 1. Now therefore hearken or listen, O Israel. Now therefore hearken, O Israel, unto the statutes and unto the judgments, meaning the punishments, which I teach you, for to do them, that ye may live and go in and possess the land which the Lord God of your fathers gives you. That just once again proves that he is not the God of everybody. He is not the God of everybody. He is the God of Israel. Ye shall not add unto the word which I command you, neither shall ye diminish aught from it, that ye may keep the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you. Your eyes have seen what the Lord God did because of Baal Peor. For all the men that follow Baal Peor, the Lord thy God hath destroyed them from among you. And the Most High is destroying all you disobedient, unrepentant, so-called blacks, so-called Latino, Native Americans today. If you wonder why we had the numbers of deaths from COVID-19, some of them were judgment. All of them may not have been judgment, but some of them certainly were judgment. If you want to know why so-called black people, Latinos, Native Americans are number one in all ill effects medically, because your forefathers did not follow the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. That's why you have all these sicknesses and injury. That's why you have them. And you're still in sin today. The Most High sent his prophets to warn you before the final judgment. And judgment is ongoing, but there's a final judgment. You need to repent. The Gentiles are never going to repent. They're going to continue to tell you not to follow the laws, that the laws have been done away with, that Christ died for that you can do whatever you want to do and Christ died for that. All of these are doctrines of men, and all of these things are going to get you killed. You understand that? Listening to the doctrines of men will get you killed. And who's doing the killing? The Most High God himself. By the means of his son. His son, the one you call Jesus Christ, his name is Yahweh Shai, the Mashiach being Messiah. He is judging this earth right now. He's the one causing these rumors of wars and wars. I told you about it in Matthew 24. He's the one spreading the pestilence. He's the one causing the earthquakes. He's the one causing the famine. You're not supposed to vote. You're not supposed to vote. You're not supposed to celebrate Mother's Day. You're not supposed to celebrate Father's Day. You're not supposed to celebrate Christmas. You're not supposed to celebrate New Year's. You're not supposed to celebrate Valentine's Day, Labor Day, whatever day. Whatever day these Gentiles have, you're not supposed to do it. How about that? Let's just sum it up like that. Let's make this quick and simple. If the Europeans have a holiday, you're not supposed to do it. How about that? That's probably the easiest way to understand it. If Europeans say to celebrate something, you need to second guess it. You arrive at a situation to figure out the truth of the evil of this people and to get the hell away from them. That's what you arrived at. Earlier we discussed Mother's Day and Father's Day. Mother's Day and Father's Day are days in which the Europeans created to celebrate their mothers and their fathers, and whether male or female they want, as gods. You may not believe that that's what you're doing on Mother and Father's Day, but that is what you're doing. That day, the reason why it's that day is because they have some esoteric evil reason why they have to do it on that day. To put it in layman's terms, evil is concentrated on that particular day. These are the facts, whether you like it, understand it or not. All of the holidays that Europeans are pagan, all of them associated with some sort of false god, female or male, most of them female, for whatever reason. And it's funny because the European man does not worship the European man. You understand that? The European man has all of these pagan holidays that worship female gods, but they don't worship their own women. Why is that? Why is that? Job 9 and 24. We're going to read the whole thing this time. Job 9 and 24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? That's what the scripture says. And if you ask the question today, who rules the earth? You know who's going to say rules the earth. There's one on the motorcycle right here, I think. Are you a European? Yeah, see, do Europeans rule the earth? They do? Yes, he's shaking it. You can't see it on camera, but he's shaking his head up and down. See, he knows. And Job 9:24 says, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he?